Hello guys, this is Trinity Storm here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do 8 part of Naruto the Evolution Bloodline. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Konoha was ecstatic because it was Chunin exam day. Merchants were overjoyed because the influx of new people in the village allowed them to sell much more. The shinobi were relieved because most would be on leave to attend the matches, and the rest would do so in their own way. Most people, regardless of position, were pleased with the first match. The prodigy, Hyuga Neji, takes on the demon brat, Uzumaki Naruto. Few of these people actually placed bets on Naruto. What are their names? Yamanaka Inoichi, Nara Shikaku, Akamichi Shuza, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Ichiraku family, Amino Iruka, and Naruto's group are some of the characters. People were filing into the stadium in anticipation of the fight. When the proctor arrived, Neji, Shikamaru, Konkaru, and Gaara were there, waiting for the rest. The two cages sat waiting on the booth. Many civilians demanded that Naruto be disqualified because he was not present. Sandame stood up and silenced them in response. We'll just have to wait for them. The fights have not yet begun. If they do not arrive by the time their fight is scheduled, they will be disqualified and punished for disrespecting everyone here. Of course, this applies to all contestants. Understand? Good. Proctor-san, please explain the rules now. When 9 figures were seen walking towards the arena 10 minutes later, the proctor proceeded to explain the rules of the engagement. Many people gasped as they emerged from the shadows of the massive building. The first was Naruto, with his head held high in his new outfit, reminding many of the Yondaime and eliciting cries of hatred and blasphemy for disrespecting the man. Shino came next, the hem of his overcoat lowered, his sunglasses on a pocket of his coat, revealing his face, which many girls thought was rather attractive. Shino only wore the glasses because of a tiny hole between his eyes that served as an entrance for his insects. But, after Haku told him that he looked better without them, he couldn't say no to Haku, could he? Hinata stood to Naruto's right in her new beautiful combat kimono, drawing many looks of lust and jealousy from those around her. Kurenai walked forward behind them, her presence making a certain smoking Junin cough and hack while nearly having a heart attack. Zabuza walked in to her right, the perpetual feral smirk on his face visible through the bandages, his Kubikuri honcho resting comfortably on his shoulder rather than his back. Naruto said it made him look even more badass and threatening. Anko stood next to Zabuza, her figure concealed by a very, very tight black spandex suit that ended just below the hem of her mini skirt and unzipped in the front just enough to reveal her new and improved cleavage. Oh, she had loved her new ability to change her form, which had helped her in a variety of ways. Her trench coat was similar to Naruto's, but it had the kanji for Shake Charmer and a snake surrounded them. The rear was covered by Haku, which made more than a few heads turn, at least until Shino's death glare forced them back to their seats. Kiba stood to Haku's right, his new greaves and gauntlets hidden by his clothes, which included black pants, a black muscle tee, and a dark gray overcoat similar to Shino's. His trusty chained kama was secured around his waist by a large leather belt. Next to Kiba was Lee, who changed his clothes when Hinata and Tenten finally took him shopping. Instead, he wore dark gray, almost black hakama pants and a white haori with ripped-off sleeves and a front opening to show off his muscles. His hands were still bandaged, but this time they also covered his chest. His hair was also spiked back slightly, similar to Virgil's hairstyle in DMC. Hinata, Tenten, and Haku had managed to make him trim his brows and learn to keep his eyes narrowed, removing the bug-eyed look he had. Lee's Quan Dao rested diagonally on his back, attracting a lot of attention due to its size and apparent power. Tenten walked around the other side of Haku, wearing a long, green Chinese dress that highlighted her athletic build and drew attention to her legs, while a pair of scrolls rested quietly on her hips. Many men and women, understandably, found their mouths dry when they saw the group enter. Inside, Sarutobi and Jiraiya were laughing their asses off. This is extremely rich. It couldn't be, Orochimaru thought. Was that Yondaime's son? Orochimaru was disgusted, almost dirty, by his thoughts about the brat. Surprisingly, the thoughts did not stop. Naruto, Tenten, and Shino marched to the center of the arena, while the rest of the group jumped off to join their peers. Kiba and Haku went to the rest of the Rookie 9, while Hinata went to her gaping family. Sakura felt stupid for turning Lee the way she did now that she knew he could look good when he wanted. Meanwhile, Lee leapt alongside his sensei, Guy, surprising everyone with the height and strength of his leap. Guy had never seen Lee jump that high with such ease before. Lee bowed calmly before his old sensei, then unhooked his Quan Dao and placed it on his shoulder as he sat. Guy was imitating a fish, his mouth opening and closing with no sound coming out. Meanwhile, a smoking Chunin wanted to play dead so that Kurenai, who was sitting next to him, could perform CPR on him. Kurenai played hard to get, and Zabuza and Anko snickered. After all, she'd have to make sure he quit smoking before they went out. The proctor chose to start the match by having everyone leave the arena except Naruto and Neji. Give Uzumaki up. You will always be the same no matter how hard you try to change. It is your destiny to lose to me, Neji said, attempting to irritate Naruto. Neji, can you really say that after the beating Hina-chan gave you a month ago? Seriously, after beating you up, she gave you the match. Do you understand why? She did not want to fight me. Not because of the nonsense you spew about fate, but because she didn't want to fight me. Weakers like you have no chance against someone as powerful as Hinata, or even me. After all, to us, you're just a blind coward. Naruto's reprimand hurt Neji more than he could have imagined. It not only revealed that Hinata had defeated him, no matter how severe the loss, he would never call it a beating, but it also revealed that Hinata gave him the fight because she didn't want to fight Naruto. Then this. Commoner called him a blind coward. Neji reacted angrily to the insult and chose to end this farce of a match. He sped up to Naruto, charging his hands with chakra and believing he could end it. Imagine his surprise when Naruto vanished into thin air. He heard snickering from his left and turned around to see Naruto standing there, arms crossed, laughing, and Neji's attempt. What? How did you accomplish that? Ah, Neji-chan, don't tell me you've never heard of Genjutsu. Even though it's my worst skill, I managed to fool you. How? How did you manage to fool my Byakugan? That is not possible. So, how did I pull it off? My chakra holds the key to the solution. Your chakra is like a mist or a gas. The majority of shinobi are like this. My chakra, like a few others, is more liquid. A gust of wind may disperse a cloud of gas, but it will have difficulty moving a liquid body. If I concentrate, I can condense my chakra to the point where it is almost solid, increasing the difficulty of piercing it. You might be wondering how I got control of that. Simply put, I worked my $1 off and realized I'd never be able to use a genjutsu small enough for my body. Simply put, I have far too much chakra for that. Instead, I used genjutsu to cover the entire stadium. My genjutsu is every man, woman, and child, every tree and speck of dust. I could tear you apart right now, but that's not my intention, Baka. The stadium shimmered, and Neji noticed only minor changes, such as Naruto being dislocated by a few inches. Naruto's lips tightened. I never claimed to have changed everything. The best illusion is one that appears to be true but isn't. In terms of genjutsu, I believe I have humiliated you sufficiently. Neji was taken aback. Have you humiliated me? Yup. Hina-chan taught me a lot about you. I'm aware of your preoccupation with fate. So I asked myself, how do I cure you of it? I replied simply. I'm going to dissect you. I'm going to disprove everything you believe. I'm going to completely humiliate you. Then you'll realize there is no such thing as fate, only destiny and your interpretation of it." Naruto's words enraged Neji, who charged him, only for Naruto to raise an arm and speak calmly to him. Chakra Furashu means chakra flash. Due to the activation of his Byakugan, Neji was blinded by a burst of intense chakra. In pain, Neji screamed. "Sorry about that, man. Hee hee. That's what you get for being so stupid, so reliant on one skill, Neji. Your Jiyuken is good, but without it, you're nothing. What was the technique I just used? It's a bloody D rank that's knocked you out. Any genin could use it to kick your dollar like there was no tomorrow. Get up, you brat. Show me why you're dubbed a prodigy." After a few seconds, Neji stood up, fully aware that Naruto had spoken the truth but still refusing to accept it. After all, his fate had never failed him before, and it would not fail him now. When he saw Naruto draw and throw shuriken, he prepared to grab them out of the air, as he knew he could. Things became more serious when Naruto made a simple seal and said a jutsu. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The tone was as soothing as a cup of tea in a conversation about the weather. The hundreds of shuriken that covered the air, however, forced Neji to use his trump card quickly if he wanted to be anything other than skewered meat. The shuriken were easily deflected by the Kaden, who simply leaned back and dodged them. Naruto laughed. "Oh, this is lovely. Let's see if my ninjutsu can crack it, shall we? Avoid this one at all costs." As the wind whipped around them, Naruto held both hands to the side. Suna shinobi all gaped at the sight of a seal-less wind technique. One they didn't immediately recognize. Dai Kei's Rin. Futen. Wind style. Great wind ring. Naruto's arms whipped forward, propelling the dual rings of wind towards Neji. Neji, on the other hand, chose to deflect them with his trusty Kaden. When he saw them hit the chakra dome, his eyes widened as he saw the disc speed up to him only slightly slower than before. He barely avoided being trisected by pivoting out of the way, instead receiving a shallow cut on his waist and torso. Above, a voice called his attention. Looking up, he noticed Naruto dropping another two. Neji quickly kawaramied with a log, only to see another ring approaching him. He couldn't get away from it this time. He was immobile. As his death approached, Neji closed his eyes. A branch fell on his head, shocking him awake. The disc had gone missing. Naruto was amused. "I can't possibly murder Hina cousin, Chans, can I? Do you think that's a bad idea? I believe I have now humiliated you in ninjutsu. You could at least make me work for it, man. Shino is my team's weakest link in combat, but he makes me work hard to beat him. Not to mention that his specialty is tracking rather than combat. Yours, on the other hand, is combat, so why are you so bad at it?" Many people in the audience were offended by Naruto's humiliation of Neji. Fangirls began yelling at Naruto, who raised his hand in front of himself like a microphone, waving his arm as if introducing the fangirls to the rest of the world. Behold! The frightful, creepy beast known only as Fangirl. We have braved the dreaded fangirls' territory to inform you of their habits here, live for your enjoyment. By that point, Neji had recovered sufficiently to charge at Naruto, who dodged without even catching his breath. The fangirl's only foe is another fangirl, despite the fact that they appear to reproduce asexually when more than one of them is near a normal female human. When two fangirls fight, a fight of epic stupidity ensues, scaring all males away. Neji was panting as a result of the exertion. His fighting style was never intended to outlast his adversary. Instead, it emphasized defeating the enemy in a matter of seconds rather than minutes of combat. Naruto carried on unaffected. And now, for your viewing pleasure, we present you, Fangirl's Prey, the one and only, the equally creepy Bishoujouu emo. I'm talking about Bishonen. What are you, Neji, a feminine boy or a tomboyish girl? With the exception of Hinata-chan, I can never tell with you Hyuga. Seriously, you all wear the same clothes, move and speak in the same manner. When I sneaked inside one day, I thought I saw a cult. I must say, Hyuga, you looked great in pink. I believe it revealed your true sexual orientation. Hinata was laughing her $1 off, while the rest of the Hyuga were going insane from the not-so-implied insult. Neji. Poor Neji. He was being publicly humiliated and had no way of stopping it. Shut up. Damn you, shut up. Neji charged headlong. Naruto, of course, avoided. Precision and mental calmness were required for the Hyuga style. Neji was no threat to an academy student in his current state. Neji flailed wildly, wasting a lot of energy while attempting to hit Naruto. Naruto jumped backwards and kicked the ground. He continued, taking a more serious tone. Okay, Neji, it's time to humiliate you with taijutsu. Take a few deep breaths to relax. I promise not to use any of my Kekkei Genkei's active abilities or any jutsu that require hand seals. Prepare yourself and give it your all. Neji took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. He still despised Uzumaki, but this time he was enraged. He sprinted to Naruto, taking up his stance. He took a strange stance as soon as he arrived, which made most Hyuga gasp. You're within my realm of divination. Naruto's eyes widened slightly, but he moved quickly to avoid the incoming barrage. Ni Sho. There are 2 strikes. Yan Sho. There are 4 strikes. Hachi Sho. Says 1. There are 8 strikes. Juroku Sho. Says 1. There are 16 strikes. Sanjuni Sho. Says 1. There are 32 strikes. Hake Rokujoyon Shisha. Divine number 64 Stri. The barrage hit Naruto as he sped up to avoid the attacks. Of course, Naruto's hands moved slowly due to his reflexes. Only the final 2 stages posed a challenge, so Neji grabbed the offending fingers and broke them. Neji screamed and reeled back. Naruto's expression was solemn. Perhaps this will teach you something about physical pain. A much-needed spanking session. In pain, Neji cradled his broken fingers. What do you know about pain, Uzumaki? What would you know about the Hyuga clan's anguish? Nothing compares to. Oh, Neji, don't give me that nonsense. I understand your anguish in the cursed enslaving seal. I'm well versed in the subject. Hinata-chan told me everything about you, from the seal to your father's death to protect the current head's life. I'm aware of it. What you are unaware of, however, is your burden. Do you think your tiny little seal can compete with this? Naruto lifted his shirt, revealing his stomach seal. The villagers were at a loss for words. Where was the brat's remark? Allow me to explain the significance of the seal, the lies you've been told, and the bigotry and hatred of this cursed village. Do you remember what happened on October 10th, 13 years ago? The Kyuubi launched an attack and was ultimately defeated. Kyuubi, on the other hand, was never killed because he couldn't be killed. He had only been imprisoned. Where? Without an altar, an adult, or an animal, the demon lord could not be imprisoned. Instead, Kyuubi was imprisoned in the form of a newborn child, not even an hour old. Me. Yondaimi's final wish was that the village regard me as a hero. They didn't, of course. I reminded them of the deaths of their loved ones, and they despised me for it. I've forgiven them a long time ago. What they did is something I will never forgive this messed up village. Tell me, Neji, how many times you've been beaten unconscious? How many times have you been set on fire? How often have you been poisoned? How many times have you been on the verge of being raped? At 3, I had shinobi try to burn me alive, I was fed poisoned food, and on my birthday, people would crowd around me and try to beat me to death. All because this stupid, retarded, bigoted village can't see what's in front of it. That is how it was until 5 years ago. The cretins who live here have decided to murder me once more. What's the big deal? They began by throwing bottles and stones at me. They then arrived with iron bars. Then there was the fire. Finally, an idiot appeared over me, masked, wielding a large sword charged with chakra, and stabbed me right here on the seal. Naruto displayed the location of the blow. What do you believe happened? Let me explain. Yondaimi's seal was extremely powerful. Do you know why? Because Yondaimi did not survive. Yondaimi summoned the Shinigami to create the seal, which was stronger than any man-made seal. Shinigami-sama, on the other hand, appears to have a sense of humor. Despite its ability to restrain Kyuubi, the seal is extremely vulnerable to attack from outside sources. If the seal had been left alone, I would have absorbed Kyuubi's power, weakening him to the point where he could be easily sealed in an item. That will never happen because of these jerks who happen to live in the same village as me. Because of these idiots, the Kyuubi will never be weakened or sealed in an item, and will be forgotten for all time. Do you want to know why? Because the Kyuubi escaped. The seal was broken by idiots. Konoha collectively exclaimed. Kyuubi could have gotten out and leveled this place, and I would have laughed my $1 off as you idiots ran around like headless chickens. Kyuubi, on the other hand, made a mistake. In his avarice, he attempted to devour and torture me for imprisoning him. It's interesting that Kyuubi saw me as the hero you jerks never saw me as, huh? What irony. But, as any Yamanaka will tell you, battles like the one Kyuubi started with me are fought on the mental plane, where size and strength are irrelevant. What matters is one's inner strength. Fortunately, some of the seal remained, giving me an advantage. Still, as an 8-year-old malnourished, tortured, and eternally alone child, I'd have to fight Kyuubi no Yoko to protect the village that was trying to kill me. Feel lucky, you fucking assholes, and thank Kami that I had a few people to protect, or you'd all died that night 5 years ago. You all owe me your lives. Everyone. Not one bongives to you. All of you are mine. I struggled and struggled. In the end, I triumphed. The end result? I'd absorb all of the Kyuubi no Yoko's power. Every memory and power would be mine. Ultimate knowledge, ultimate power. Do you happen to see Neji? Why don't I have it all now that I had it once? Hubris. That is the reason. Kyuubi's power and knowledge were never intended for a mortal, let alone a child. Before the Kyuubi was reincarnated, the knowledge would drive me insane, and the power would destroy Hai no Kuni. So, I returned it. I resurrected the Kyuubi after killing him. However, I was still a god there, whereas Kyuubi was merely an animal. I gave him something else before returning his power and knowledge to him. I showed him compassion, love, and concern. I gave him the entire human emotional spectrum. Kyuubi was deeply sorry for his actions, but he is no longer that Kyuubi. He is different, and his soul no longer conceals any secrets. Any Yamanaka could walk into my mind and find the same thing inside of me. A gentle, calm giant fox with 9 tails and more knowledge than all the shinobi nations combined. But please tell me. Did it ever occur to you, after hearing this story, why I was chosen? Did you pause to reflect? To think about it, why Naruto and not a clan member, who would have had more protection? Let me respond to that. My ancestors. The audience, both inside and outside the arena, was holding their breath. Some of those who realized what Naruto had gone through and were truly sorry wept. The ASNWE is in Yondaimi's first rule for future Hokage. As they remembered that rule, the Chunin exclaimed. Don't send anyone on a mission unless you're ready to go yourself, he said. In other words, why would Yondaime use someone else's son when he already had his own? The answer is no, he did not. He made use of his own son. He gave his own son the burn and the privilege of keeping the Kyuubi down. Not to the Hyuga or the Uchiha, but to me. Because Yondaime was my biological father. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Konohas was taken aback. Most of them were thinking about what idiots they were and how they should repay Namikaze-sama for their stupidity. Others were truly sorry, realizing for the first time how stupid they had been. Those who had never judged Naruto were furious at what the rest of Konoha had done. However, many people believed that Kyuubi had corrupted the Yondaime noble line and should be killed. So, Neji, do you still think I don't understand pain? Let me reveal another secret to you. The Kyuubi did not have to be imprinted on me. Shinigami-sama could just as easily have sealed Kyuubi within himself. So, why am I here? Simply because my father desired an advantage for his son. Do you get it now? My own father condemned me to a hellish existence that you cannot begin to comprehend. My village, he spat, tortured me all my life. So, do you want to know something? Screw both of you and Konoha. Screw you until you idiots start thinking. Get this into your head, Neji. There are people who have suffered far beyond your comprehension and yet have triumphed. You failed by allowing yourself to fail. That's why Hinata will always kick your $1. Because she refuses to let herself fail. Understand? Good. Examine your fingers now. While you're at it, here's some information. The seal on your brow. Hinata despises it more than you do. Just some food for thought. Naruto turned to the Hyuga clan as Neji was helped out of the ring. I apologize for the gay jokes, but they are also a form of combat. But I will never apologize for my pranks. To be honest, your clan's security stinks. Make a better one and set a challenge for me the next time. Naruto completely ignored Konoha and simply leapt off, landing next to his peers who were preparing for their matches. Tenten and Shino greeted him calmly, laughing internally about Naruto's humiliation of Neji. He'd been expecting it for a long time. The next fight will pit Uchiha Sasuke against Sabaku no Gaara. Sasuke, on the other hand, was nowhere to be found. Sarutobi stood up and spoke authoritatively. Uchiha Sasuke has belittled us all. As a result, he is disqualified. However, because so many lords have come to see the final battle of the Uchiha clan, his fight will be moved to the final spot. However, Uchiha Sasuke will not be promoted in these exams. He will also be punished for failing to show up on time for a mission. Is that clear? Many people assumed the old man was a tired, frail shell of his former self. Danzo, too, felt chills run down his spine when he heard him speak in that tone. This was no longer Sandaime Hokage. This was Sarutobi Hiruzen, the god of shinobi and the hero of 3 shinobi wars. The man who, in his youth, could spank all 3 Sannin like they were nothing more than brats. This was the man whose enemies fled in terror and whose allies would follow him to hell and back. Even his old student Orochimaru was taken aback by the man's aura. Naruto's voice echoed throughout Konoha. Yeah. Gigi, you tell them. The Hokage has died. Long live the shinobi god. Sarutobi Hiruzen lives. Naruto's group quickly realized what he meant and shouted, "Long live the god of shinobi," prompting all Junin and most Chunin to do the same. The civilians were taken aback by the shinobi's display of loyalty. Genin and Chunin in Konoha had that strange sensation of walking into a room where the only other person inside was Sarutobi, and with each step they took, they shrank and shrank until they were nothing more than a speck of dust. It wasn't ki, and it wasn't a genjutsu either. The man's mere presence, like a phoenix, reignited his flames from his own ashes. Jiraiya did something he had never done before next to Sandaime. He bowed to Hiruzen again and again. Those who knew the Sennin were taken aback by the action, but they also understood why he did it. Jiraiya never respected anyone because of their position, but because of their actions. After all, it was he who went to the grave of the great salamander Hanzo and openly mourned his death. This action demonstrated Jiraiya's admiration for the man, admiration that stemmed from Sarutobi overcoming his age and the difficulties that came with it. Meanwhile, the civilian council cried out in terror. They recognized the posture, the gaze, and the tone. The party had ended, and there would be hell to pay. Meanwhile, Gaara was desperately trying to calm down. Naruto would not fight him if he killed anyone. Killing insignificant worms would not be as satisfying as fighting and devouring the Namikaze's blood. He'd have to keep his cool until the Namikaze arrived. Then, he could go all in. He could savor the taste of his blood, the thrill of his fight, and the sheer satisfaction of confirming his own existence. Blood, blood, blood. Gaara's siblings, on the other hand, were ready to piss themselves in terror, a look Gaara hadn't seen in a long, long time. Meanwhile, Sandaime made a single gesture, which was all that was required, and the proctor announced the start of the next fight, Kankuro vs. Shino, in which Kankuro surrendered. Gaara appeared happier, having completed one less tedious match on his way to the Namikaze. Tenten and Shikamaru would fight next, according to the proctor. Tenten descended with the grace of an acrobat, while Shikamaru tried to quit. Tried as a keyword. Naruto easily hefted him up and threw him in, ensuring that the lazy genius was not seriously injured. Shikamaru managed to regain his equilibrium. Sort of. And not embarrass himself too much. Ah. This is so inconvenient. I'm not going to fight a girl. I want to look at the clouds because they're so free. Tenten laughed at him. Oh no, my opponent is a coward who would rather watch a cloud than protect his friends. The game is already over. He can't fight, proctor says. The proctor clearly wanted to do it, but he didn't. Instead, he let the game begin. Tenten waited and waited. Until she noticed Shikamaru had apparently fallen asleep at some point. She sighed in disappointment. She took out her scroll and a few kunai. She quickly tossed one on Shikamaru, aiming to gently hit him on the ass. Shikamaru escaped at the last moment. You're not going to let me sleep, are you? Troublesome. So, let's get started. If I just throw the match, Mom will scold me. Shikamaru quickly made a few hand seals and sent his shadow to attack Tenten. Tenten, on the other hand, did something unprecedented. She charged forward, avoiding the shadow at the last moment before spinning around and throwing her kunai. While turning, she concealed her hands, making the hand seals for the kunai cage Bunshin no Jutsu, and whispered the name rather than shouting it. The 7 kunai flew and multiplied into more than 20 flying projectiles, ready to skewer anything within a short distance of the shadow user. Shikamaru's eyes widen before he dodges with Kawarimi no Jutsu. Tenten exhaled a sigh. Shikamaru, you're so weak and predictable. You're also a moron. You believe that your superior intellect will enable you to accomplish anything. It won't. It's not against me. I'm used to fighting Shino, who is nearly as intelligent as you but far more powerful. You are pitiful. Shikamaru groaned. Shino was clearly at a higher level. Shikamaru enjoyed playing shogi with penalties, but raw intelligence wasn't always enough. Shikamaru sat down on his classic hand seal with the tips of his fingers touching, thinking of ways to win. Tenten, on the other hand, threw him a few kunai quickly enough to force him to dodge. Do you really believe I'll give you time to plan, Shikamaru? When that's precisely what you excel at. Shika, who do you think I am? A naive fangirl? Give me some respect, please. Shikamaru sighed. He needed time to plan his strategy, time he wouldn't have. His mind tried to figure it out, but he couldn't unless he used his special stance. He sighed and attempted to catch Tenten from behind with a Kawarimi and Kagemain combo. Tenten saw it and threw a slew of kunai at Shikamaru, pinning him painfully against the wall. Shikamaru sighed and raised his right hand in resignation. I can't beat her. She's far too quick and skilled for me. I Proctor-san. Tenten appeared to teleport to Shikamaru and slapped him. She then took a step back. So you give up every time something is difficult, huh? For what purpose? Because you're not a fighter? So what? Shino isn't a fighter either, but even though he usually loses, he fights me until the bitter end. You, on the other hand, are ineffective. You aren't even a man. You're only half a man. What if I was Shikamaru's adversary? How would you react? Quit? I'd stab you in the gut before killing your friends. Friends who would perish if you were too weak to fight for them. How would you react if I murdered Choji? Shikamaru's pupils dilated. You'd respond, wouldn't you? So, in this case, why don't you? You coward, you were unworthy of the title of shinobi. You think it's all a game, a shugi match. This is a simulation of a real-life situation, damn it. You failed a simulation. You have no right to be here in the place of Kiba or Hinata because you have no pride. At the very least, they would defend their comrades where you would surrender. You're worse than filth. Leave my face alone. This fight is a farce, according to Proctor. This weakling is nothing more than a liability. Shikamaru ducked his head in response to the statement. Tenten meant something to him, as it did to many others. He also understood what she expected of him. He looked at her and realized she was correct. It wouldn't matter if he was smart. If he lacked the courage to make a difference, he'd be useless in a fight. He was frail. Tenten, on the other hand, was concerned with how Shikamaru's weakness would affect others. Shikamaru sighed, it was so inconvenient. Tenten was given the match because Shikamaru refused to fight her. Tenten retrieved her kunai, resealed them, and jumped up to the competitor's box, where Naruto and Shino congratulated her.
Naruto was especially pleased because she did exactly what he had instructed her to do.
For example, force Shika to train under the threat of his friends' deaths. Shikamaru didn't share Naruto's determination to protect his friends, but that didn't mean he didn't want to. Choji was Shikamaru's best friend, and they were in the same squad, so if Shikamaru surrendered to an enemy, Choji would be hurt. Perhaps a dirty tactic, but an effective one nonetheless. The Proctor spoke after the disappointing battle between Tenten and Shikamaru. Because Uchiha Sasuke is not present, he is disqualified. Something that drew, to put it mildly, many boos from the audience. Sandame was about to intervene when Naruto, fed up with everything, leapt down to the arena. Silence. The stadium became deafeningly quiet. How dare you be such fools? What has Sasuke done to merit such esteem? Nothing. He didn't show up, which would be an immediate disqualification for any of us here. Hokage-sama was gracious enough to give him a chance to fight, but he blew it. He chose to disrespect you in the most heinous way possible. What would you say if your children died or were injured because the shinobi you hired failed to arrive on time? Would you still believe them? I certainly would not. Shinobi do not show up late or early. They arrive promptly when required. Uchiha Sasuke is nothing more than a charlatan hiding behind his name. What, after all, is there to see about a Uchiha? We all know what they do. They simply mimic what their opponents do. It's not much of a skill, and to be honest, it's boring. On the other hand, we have contestants here who are more powerful, have more diverse abilities, or even have unknown Kekkei Genkai like mine. An Uchiha can only mimic what others do, making a mockery of people who worked hard for their abilities. Shino, on the other hand, has many non-combat skills, whereas Tenten can hit any target, at any speed, at any time, and from any angle. Gaara-san possesses previously unseen abilities. As do I. Consider who you really want to see fight. A perpetually late shinobi who only copies his opponents in the hopes that they will succumb to chakra exhaustion, or someone who can actually do something original. Finally, to whom would you entrust your children? Is he a mentally unstable brat or a professional? It's your call. Naruto spun around and leapt up, landing next to Tenten and Shino. He despised it when people praised Sasuke when the brat was nothing more than a jackass. He wasn't a survivor of the massacre, and his brother probably didn't want to smear Sasuke's blood on the blade. Shino and Tenten were thinking along the same lines. They, too, despised the way Sasuke was treated, as if he were a prince hiding behind his family's name. Sarutobi rose once more and spoke in that commanding tone. Silence. It was not a yell, but rather calm speech. Sasuke Uchiha has been disqualified. There will be a 10-minute break before the second round, which will pit Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto against Sabaku no Gaara. The proctor declared the break for the new round of betting, which effectively silenced the Uchiha supporters. Gaara approached Naruto slowly. Why do you continue to defend Konoha, Namikaze? Because, Gaara, I have some sensitive people here. People who saw me for who I was, not for the beast within. Nobody else matters to me. But if anyone threatens these sacred people, I'll decimate them. Konoha has the ability to fuck itself. However, as long as my conscious people are present, I will protect it, just as I will protect them. It's as simple as that, Gaara. I see. Namikaze, I'm looking forward to crushing you and your precious people. Mother's blood will taste so much better after their deaths. Gaara turned around, leaving a frowning Naruto and a horrified Tenten behind. Shino didn't show much emotion. He'd seen Naruto lose it in Wave, and few things could compare. Shino stroked Tenten's shoulder, calming her down. Tenten, keep your cool. It is both impolite and unnecessary to act in this manner. Everything is under Naruto's control. Tenten relaxed and took her hand away from the seal she had subtly placed it on. A seal depicting a black sword encircled by a dragon. Time passed, and Naruto's battle with Gaara was approaching. Konoha was still reeling from Naruto's revelation. Most were either hostile, believing the demon had corrupted the line, or ready to grovel in the hopes of gaining something from Naruto's ancestors and inheritance. Naruto was nearly overrun by fangrels when they discovered him, but Hinata arrived and explained that the territory had been marked. The fangrels mostly wept, but when some approached Hinata, Naruto stepped between them, sending a clear message: don't touch her or else. Hinata's clan had also regarded her with amusement. Her father considered marrying Naruto into his clan through marriage, which shocked Hanabi. When Hiashi told Hinata to court him into the Hyuga clan so the clan can grow stronger, Hinata nearly executed the man and would have done so if Kiba hadn't stopped her. It was a shocking revelation for Hanabi, who had previously believed everything her father had told her, namely that Hinata was weak, Naruto was a dead last demon, and the secondary branch was nothing more than a dump for failures. Hinata grabbed her younger sister and led her to the side, explaining everything to her and demonstrating the Hyuga clan's numerous flaws. Finally, Hinata imposed a burden on her younger sister, Hanabi, who would change the Hyuga clan, but not alone. She'd have the support of the Inuzuka, Aburame, Namikaze Uzumaki, and Sarutobi families. Not to mention a seal master who could assist them in breaking the chain of hatred within the clan. Hanabi, on the other hand, had difficulty accepting everything because it was too radical for her ordered mind. At least until Naruto arrived and joined the conversation. The poor girl almost blushed. Hyuga, with the exception of Hinata, do not blush, realizing why her big sister had such a crush on Naruto. Soon, the much-anticipated fight between Sabaku no Gaara and Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto arrived. Gaara descended using a shunshin, while Naruto landed near him after jumping all the way from the Hokage monument. The crater was spectacular. The proctor rushed to start the fight because both combatants appeared ready to tear the place down and, judging by their apparent abilities, they could. Gaara's gourd exploded into motion as soon as the signal was given, unleashing a torrent of sand on Naruto. Naruto, for his part, stopped joking and jumped back with lightning speed. He then charged. People were taken aback by Naruto's true speed. He zoomed faster than most Chunin could see, right into Gaara, slamming his fist into his stomach, only for Gaara to explode into sand and attempt to engulf Naruto, while tendrils of sand came from behind. Naruto jumped back and began running along the tendrils, a black and red blur, before charging the newly revealed Gaara. Gaara prepared a sand wall for himself and unleashed it on Naruto. Wind blew and tree leaves obscured vision just before they collided, and a pair of figures appeared within, back to back. Hitaki Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke were revealed when the leaves were blown away. As Naruto leapt away, the fight came to a halt. "Yo. We weren't late at all, were we?" Kakashi said, raising his hand in a relaxed greeting. Half of the stadium palmed their hands, and every dignitary began muttering about the lack of respect and professionalism. Naruto spoke first, followed by the proctor. "In fact, you were." Sasuke was disqualified for failing to appear, thereby disrespecting everyone and displaying unprofessional behavior. "Take duck butt out of here, weakling." Kakashi and Sasuke were taken aback. Disqualified? But how? Sasuke was a Uchiha, a member of the elite, and he should not have been disqualified. Kakashi looked at Naruto. "I seriously doubt it, Uzumaki-san. I am confident that Hokage-sama did not disqualify Sasuke-kun. In the end. It's Uzumaki Namikaze, you retard, learn it in one. You'd have known if you were even remotely competent at journalism, you thieving fool. Now get out because I have a fight to finish." Namikaze. Why was Kakashi stuttering? That was unthinkable. Turning to face the Hokage, he attempted to respond. He didn't have time because the old man stood tall, an aura of respect surrounding him. Naruto is correct. Sasuke is disqualified and will be punished for his lack of professional behavior. What about you, Hitaki Kakashi? I'd have expected you to know when not to be late as a journalist. Your tardiness appears to have spread to your brain as well as your feet. You have been demoted to the rank of Chunin, which will be recorded in your file. Oh, and before I forget, you will provide me with a detailed list of every technique you have stolen over the years, including how to perform them and how you obtained them. Inoichi-san will then search your mind for any lies. Your Sharingan eye will be removed if you miss even one technique. If the owners do not want you to know any Konoha shinobi techniques that you or Sasuke have copied, they will be removed. Using the Sharingan to copy them again will result in life imprisonment and the removal of the Sharingan from both of you. Is that clear? Kakashi and Sasuke just stared at Sarutobi, feeling the full weight of the aged shinobi's power. Sasuke was about to pass out. Not even Orochimaru had such a powerful aura. When Kakashi stuttered again, looking for a rebuttal, Sarutobi added his key to the equation, forcing both to kneel. I said, "Is that clear?" The shinobi's heads were filled with the sound of Sarutobi's voice. So that was Akage's power, Sasuke thought, immediately activating his Sharingan to combat it, his cursed seal acting up. Kakashi knew he shouldn't fight Sarutobi right now because the old man was enraged. He yanked on Sasuke, nodding quickly. "Alright, Sasuke-kun, let's go." Sasuke stepped away from Kakashi and turned to face Naruto. Sasuke knew it was Naruto's fault for some reason. Naruto was to blame for everything. Everything. He despised Naruto, the dead last, his annoying smile, and the way he spoke and moved. He despised him completely. He was completely despised. Sasuke shifted his gaze to Naruto. Isn't it your fault, Uzumaki? It is entirely your fault. Everything. If you're referring to your disqualification, you're both correct and incorrect. You were already going to be disqualified, but if you had arrived before my fight with Gaara began, you could have still gotten to show off. You seem to have messed up big time, don't you? By the way, unless you're too stupid to do something so simple, my name is Uzumaki Namikaze. Right, Sasuke had stopped listening to Naruto, his mind echoing Itachi's words. Hate. Hate. Hate, 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 hate. Sasuke screamed, Orochimaru's seal activating, and quickly activated his Sharingan as lightning flashed on his hands. I'm going to kill you. Sasuke had rammed his Chidori through Naruto's chest and heart before Kakashi could react. Sasuke began laughing uncontrollably. Yes. Yes. I did kill you. I killed you, Naruto, with this power. I can now kill Itachi. Ha ha ha. I will kill all of you. Konoha was stunned in the stands. Was that their prince? Most people looked at Sasuke, seeing his enraged expression as he laughed at killing everyone. More people were now siding with Naruto. Sarutobi was enraged but unconcerned because he knew Naruto was safe. Hanabi was taken aback when she saw Hinata laugh. She turned to her sister and inquired as to why she was laughing. Hinata laughed again. Because Naruto-kun is a fantastic actor. That blow didn't even come close to killing him. Hanabi had only enough time to turn around and see and hear Naruto cackle. Is that the temerity? Are you finished now? SPLAF. That was the sound that echoed as Naruto backhanded Sasuke against one of the arena walls, leaving spiderweb-like cracks as Sasuke collapsed like a sack of potatoes. Before asking, Kakashi looked around and imitated a fish. How come you're not dead? You should be dead. Naruto cackled again, this time sounding more like an evil demon. Hitaki Teme, you sound almost sad. The duck butt has a heart. So what? I received more than one. I also heal quickly. See? The wound had almost completely healed, and the clothing had even repaired itself thanks to the numerous seals on it. That is my Kekkei Genkei. Well, it gives me passive abilities. And I haven't even begun. Didn't I say it before? Sharingan has nothing on me. To me and my clan, the Sharingan is utter shit, as is almost every other user of it, with one notable exception. His own family exiled him because he wasn't strong enough. Don't you just adore them? Especially when they murder their closest friends and lovers for a little more power. Oh look, hubby Hiki Tamiz is assisting him. But he still looks like crap to me. Sasuke stood up, the cursed seal covering him, and another Chidori prepared. Naruto muttered, "Here we go again," and waited. Sasuke rushed forward. He grabbed the Chidori with his right hand and raised Sasuke in the air like an annoying 5-year-old brat just before it slammed through Naruto. He then began squeezing the wrist until it was crushed with a sickening crack. Sasuke collapsed, writhing in agony. Naruto looked at an irritated Gaara. Gaara-san, do you mind if I take out the trash? If you want, you can look after Hitaki Teme here. But I wouldn't kill him just yet. He still has to receive his punishment. Gaara nodded before using his sand to force Kakashi to flee. Naruto examined the downed Sasuke. Now, what is the penalty for attempting to murder a fellow leaf shinobi? Oh, yes, I recall. Death. But I'm not going to kill you, weakling. But I'm going to punish you in some way. Jackass, good night. Naruto slammed Sasuke's nose with the back of his elbowing hand, a right cross punch on Sasuke's temple, a knee to the gut, and a right uppercut. Sasuke fell to the ground, moaning in agony. Naruto formed a camera with his hands before directing his attention to Sasuke and the exit to the medic bay. With an evil grin on his face, he kicked the unconscious Sasuke straight into it. Turning to face Gaara's strange expression, he said, "What? Didn't I get him there quickly?" Konoha did a faceplant. Kakashi was trying to get things back on track, but it was difficult with an unprovoked attack on a Konoha shinobi, an irritated Hokage, and an angry Jinchuriki. He still attempted to chastise Naruto. "Naruto, what have you done to Sasuke? You nearly killed him." Those who knew Naruto and Gaara snickered. Naruto gave a sly grin. "But I didn't do that, did I? Besides, I didn't really attack him. If I'd gotten serious with the jerk, he'd be a smear on the walls by now. I made sure not to kill Ms. Duckbit, but he's not going anywhere for a while. Now get the fuck out of my fight, Hitaki Teme. I've got a fight waiting for you and I don't want you messing with it." "Gaara, are you sure?" While the proctor escorted a shaken Kakashi out, Gaara simply nodded. The fight resumed as soon as the impediments were removed. Naruto dodged countless sand tendrils, moving like a blur to avoid and strike Gaara. The blonde dashed forward, using the sand as a movable platform to get into striking distance. Something that wasn't easy, given how Gaara's sand moved almost instantly to defend, while also having the same advantage as Shino's attacks, namely offense and defense being interchangeable. The blonde-topped, black blur eventually appeared in front of Gaara, one hand cocked back for a gut punch. As the sand tried to absorb the impact, it sent a shockwave through it. Gaara actually grunted as she was sent back. Naruto smirked and jumped backwards. "So it appears that I, too, can rip that armor apart like Lee. But, unlike Lee, I have something up my sleeve," Naruto stated before assuming his new form. He reshaped his legs, preparing them for bursts of speed, shaped his arm blades, knowing his claws would struggle to cut through the sand, and finally fashioned a tail from his tailbone, knowing he'd need it to maintain balance while running at full speed. He made the last motion with his hands, passing them over his heart and whispering something. As a result, the restraints placed on his body by him and Jiraiya were removed. Naruto's Kekkei Genkai was fully activated in a matter of seconds. As Konoha and the rest of the stadium stared in disbelief, Naruto smirked.
Infinite evolution is my Kekkei Genkai, Mugen Shinka.
Because of this village's stupidity, my DNA had become unstable. However, because I was not only an Uzumaki, but also a Namikaze, I was able to use this to my advantage.
The most powerful Kekkei Genkai available. Prepare yourself, Gaara. This battle has only just begun. Naruto charged ahead onto Gaara, his blades held at the sides and his tail trailing behind him, maintaining balance despite being almost parallel to the ground, a trail of dust trailing Naruto due to his insane speed. Naruto's arm blades hacked and slashed at the flying sand, tearing open a path for him, a straight charge that left the Suna shinobi in awe and fear. Shino returned to the stands and turned to Kenkiro and Temari. "I hope you've said your goodbyes to Gaara-san." When Naruto is like this, very few people can stand up to him.
Tenten, who was standing next to Shino, was giggling uncontrollably at the fight, sensing Muramasa's desire to fight and cut as well. Hinata let out an evil giggle in the Hyuga seats, startling Hanabi who was sitting next to her. When Hanabi looked at Hinata's face, the poor girl almost fainted from the look of pure anticipation and glee on Hinata's face. Needless to say, Hiyashi reconsidered ordering Hinata to do anything after seeing that. It was the same expression Hinata's mother had moments before beating the living daylights out of a Hyuga elder who dared to order her to place the cursed seal on the unborn Hanabi. The elders sitting next to Hiyashi felt compelled to weep, recalling that look vividly. Kiba and Akamaru both howled as they saw Naruto charge Gaara. That was what he had been waiting for. He would not let this show go down without a fight. Haku considered cheering Naruto on, but Shino would be jealous, so she settled for a smirk. Sakura and the rest of Konoha 12 were terrified by the spectacle, the bloodlust in the air frightening them. Lee smirked before declaring that Gaara would lose in the Chunin stands. Guy attempted a rebuke, but Lee's confidence silenced him. Of course, Asuma inquired as to why he was so certain. Lee cracked a half smile. Because I have experienced Naruto's full rage of youth. This is only the beginning. Gaara knows he hasn't even started using Futon. Naruto's full power. I defied it, and believe me when I say, Guy-sensei, you would have lost. I barely made it, thanks to my newfound power. Keep an eye out. You'll understand what I mean. That is, if Gaara-san is strong enough. If he isn't, I'll have to go up against Naruto-kun. Only me, Tenten, and Anko are capable of confronting him. But only as a group if we don't want him to be killed. Zabuza and Anko laughed, rubbing their hands together in anticipation, as the Chunin tried to recover. They wouldn't admit it, but they both enjoyed sparring with Naruto. He was the only one who could push them to the brink of disaster. The rest of the Chunin focused on Naruto, who was charging at Gaara's motionless form at the time. Naruto had cleared a path to Gaara by raising his right arm blade to the height of his head, ready to impale Gaara's midsection. Naruto's blade rushed forward with a roar, reaching insane speeds as Naruto's entire kinetic force was transferred into it. Naruto's blade rushed forth in a Chidori-like motion, impaling Gaara. Gaara's form collapsed an instant later, leaving a sand cocoon empty. Gaara's form emerged from the ground a few feet further. A small cut on Gaara's midwaist bled some blood as the form rose. What mattered was the look on his face, the look of complete insanity. The voice that came out of his mouth was filled with rage and hatred. My blood. My blood. I will kill you, Uzumaki.
Sand gathered and contorted, forming a monstrous extension around Gaara's right arm.
People in the stands fell silent in shock. Gaara's siblings were terrified. It wasn't good. In fact, it was horrendous. Things would go downhill fast if Gaara lost it. In the stands, Kabuto was still perplexed as to why Orochimaru hadn't given the attack the go-ahead. Orochimaru, on the other hand, was preoccupied with a variety of issues. He'd see more of Naruto's fighting, which would be useful if he ever had to fight him again. Furthermore, Gaara would weaken Naruto so that his agents, or even himself, could kill him. If Naruto refuses to accept Orochimaru, Orochimaru will destroy him. So Orochimaru would observe, waiting for Naruto to tire before striking. Regardless of Naruto's power, the hundreds of shinobi ready to attack in an instant would kill Naruto, Yondaimi's son, and the one who defied his power. Orochimaru's face developed a cruel smirk. Hinata was looking at Naruto's $1 on the other side of the arena when he dashed, his trenchcoat flying behind him. Her thoughts taking on a perverse tone, she burst out laughing worthy of Jiraiya, startling Hanabi and Hiashi once more. Haishi's worst fears were confirmed once more. Hinata was not only a near-perfect copy of her mother, but she was also deeply in love with the Namikaze brat. Hinata also didn't seem as submissive as she used to, nor did she suck in Jiyuken like she used to. Hiashi took his leave, fighting the urge to gulp, to explain some things to Neji. It wouldn't do for him to keep such secrets, as Hinata repeatedly reminded him. Meanwhile, Naruto leapt away from Gaara, making hand seals. He placed his hand on the ground after drawing a small amount of blood by pricking one of his fingers. Jutsu no Kuchios. Taiyo Shizukani. Use the summon technique. Son, please be quiet. 8 tails emerged from the smoke, and as they dispersed, a house-sized fox appeared. A quiet, but authoritative, voice spoke. Hello, Naruto. What do you want from me? I still need to conduct a lot of research. The voice sounded strong, if not a little impatient, like a person's grandmother's. Naruto managed to bow while avoiding Gaara's massive arm before replying. Sabaku no Gaara, Ichibi no Jinchuriki is the name of the boy in front of me, human sacrifice of the one tail. I could use Gogyo Fuin, 5 elemental seal, to cut his yukai, but I don't know what his seal is. Taiyo-sama, I need you to properly seal Ichibi. Naruto did an excellent job. Because it is obvious that you are unfit for that job, I will do it for you. I need you to make Gaara use as much of Ichibi's power as possible. Hello, Taiyo-sama. Naruto bowed once more before sprinting away, this time across the walls. Without a chakra. He drew his hands back before whipping them forward, releasing a pair of wind jutsu. Daikei's Rin, Futen. Wind style. Fantastic wind ring. The ring slashed through the sand tendrils, allowing Naruto to pass through. Naruto walked right through the opening, landed with the grace of a panther, and then launched himself forward, drawing his claws in an instant. To most, Naruto simply vanished and reappeared behind Gaara, leaving fresh slashes on the Jinchuriki's body. More sand covered Gaara's body, stopping the bleeding and strengthening him. Naruto growled. Sand is a pain. The torrents returned, along with the crazed Jinchuriki, forcing Naruto to retreat briefly before closing in again. Naruto somersaulted behind Gaara, creating 3 clones in midair. The clones planned and launched an attack on Daikei's Rin, while Naruto formed his arm blades and pumped massive amounts of chakra into his right blade. A massive blade of wind formed over Naruto's bladed arm, extending his reach. The blade cut through the sand with a swiping motion. When Gaara noticed this, he raised his arms in defense. As a result, more and more sand gathered to protect the redhead. Kei's Setsudanki means wind guillotine. Suna no Tate. Sand shield. The 2 techniques collided, but the shield held firm in the end.
Naruto's clones, on the other hand, managed to sneak by jumping over it and slamming their fists into Gaara's form.
Gaara skidded along the ground as some of his armor collapsed from the force of the punch. However, it quickly reformed, this time covering even more ground. Naruto was getting closer to his goal, but that didn't mean he had to like it. Not to mention that he was attacking someone who was similar to him, someone who knew what it was like to be a Jinchuriki. The sand explosion quickly eliminated the clones as well as any attempts to pursue Naruto himself. Naruto, on the other hand, had already escaped. The 2 Jinchuriki collided once more, their speed and strength pitted against endless torrents of sand. Meanwhile, the summoned fox was taking in everything but remained stationary. Naruto had summoned her to properly seal Ichibi, not to aid him in his fight. Naruto charged once more, this time with both arms equipped with Kei's Setsudanki. The combined power may not have directly cut into Gaara, but it sure as hell got there. Naruto's claws reappeared, chakra flowed into Naruto's legs, and an instant later, a new set of cuts appeared on Gaara. Naruto didn't stop with the cuts. He immediately unleashed a barrage of kicks, knocking Gaara back with the force behind them. Gaara's body sagged against the wall. He remembered all the other times he had been attacked and betrayed, most notably by his own uncle. I will not. I will not. I'm not going to let go of my existence. Uzumaki Naruto, I will kill you. You and everything you care about. Everything will be killed by me. My existence will not go away. Sand swirled around him and grew out of proportion, becoming something massive. A sand-tailed tanuki. It roared, shaking Konoha with its blue lines. Hinata smirked again in the stands, and this time Hiashi and Hanabi questioned her sanity. They had no idea how much Naruto enjoyed fighting a strong opponent. With an opponent like that, Naruto would finally be able to let loose, unleashing all his pent-up rage. Kiba felt the need to howl, to fight, to kill, to hunt. He squashed it, however, and settled for a feral grin on his face. Haku, being Haku, attempted to calm down the terrified Konoha genin. Shino was holding Tenten back. Why? Because she desired to confront the colossal tanuki. She screamed repeatedly, threatening to castrate Shino with a rusted spoon, causing the other shinobi's eyes to bulge. At WTF? Expression on their faces. Back in the arena, the fox summoned Naruto. Knock him out, Naruto. I have everything I need to keep the tanuki at bay. Naruto didn't need to be reminded twice before leaping to safety. He grinned at Gaara's terrifying form before digging his feet into the ground and raising his arms, palms open, in front of him. Kiba and the others were aware of the situation. Lee laughed, attracting Guy's attention. Naruto-kun is finally taking things seriously. This is his strongest attack. From there, Zabuza took over. Yeah, a powerful attack that would make you flee for cover. Anko laughed and laughed. Hee, my Otouto is finally serious. This is a lot of fun. Kurenai grinned. Pay attention, Asuma. This is a vicious attack. It's more powerful than anything else I've seen so far. And will you stop smoking? Kiba smirked as he returned to the genin area. Wahoo! Naruto has finally found his groove. Hold on tight and pay close attention. This is a prodigy's power. Tenten chose to be mesmerized by the incoming power struggle rather than struggle. She adored fights like that. Wind whipped around Naruto, forming a small tornado with the debris flying around him. It began to form two violent distortions on Naruto's hands as it gathered on his arms. Those with advanced vision would notice a pair of drills made up of tens of helix-shaped wind blades. Kakashi was perplexed. It resembled a Rasengan spinning in one direction. Naruto began charging the jutsu, the chakra that was now visible to anyone with shinobi training. Even those who didn't have any were able to sense the building's power. The genin in the stands were asking Kiba about the attack. Kiba grinned. This is Naruto's strongest Futen jutsu. It's called. Naruto had finished charging when he returned to the arena. Tanuki had remained standing for far too long. It's time to even the score. Rosin, spiral. The winds grew stronger. Fu. Wind. As Naruto allowed the two drills to touch, chakra gathered in explosive amounts behind them. Ho. Cannon. That was all. The chakra exploded, sending both drills flying forward. They collided as they flew forward, and the helix-caused drives caused them to twist with each other, creating a shoedriver-shaped blast. The technique accelerated to unimaginable speeds, unleashing a massive burst of power. Then it happened. Boom. The attack exploded on Shukaku's immobile form, tearing the massive beast down as all sand was blown away. The attack's blades dug deeply into the surrounding walls, demonstrating the strength of the technique's power. Wind rushed back to fill the space it had been blown away from, creating a vacuum that could be felt even from the farthest stands. A small figure fell from a great height. Another figure blurred beneath it, catching the first. Naruto was holding Gaara in his arms as they landed safely. The insane red-headed Jinchuriki bled for several cuts while barely conscious. Why? Why did you save me, Uzumaki? Gaara, because I didn't want to fight you in the first place. You, on the other hand, threatened my precious people. Gaara. The people who rescued me from my personal hell. This place threw me into the same hell. I understand your anguish, the anguish of ultimate loneliness. I guess I was lucky to find someone who appreciated me. Didn't you ever have that, Gaara? I understand your pain. I felt it as well. But now I'm out of that dark hell. If you want, I can assist you as well. I'll be your pal. Friend? Would you like to be my friend? Do you know who I am? Nope. Gaara, I recognize you. Your sister and brother feel the same way. Take a look at them. This is the sadness feeling. Someone else's pity for you. They are sad because they care about Gaara. They could have fled, leaving you to the wolves. They didn't, however. They were standing here. Give them a chance, Gaara, to show that they care. Uzumaki. I've failed. You win. I appreciate it. Meanwhile, the kitsune was getting ready. As she approached them, she shifted into a more human form so that the pigments for the seal could be applied more easily. She placed her palm on it while drawing a number of symbols around it. Seal of the 7th star. A flash of light blinded everyone. Gaara was unconscious when it passed, but he had a peaceful expression on his face. The kitsune, on the other hand, appeared agitated. Humans are damned for interfering with others. It's no surprise the kid was going insane. Maintain his balance. Imprisonment of the demonic soul. The hands of the kitsune turned human, glowed and sank into Gaara's stomach. She withdrew them in seconds, her hand holding a globe of light. She quickly removed a small pendant from a case on her thigh before inserting the globe. As Gaara's siblings approached, the kitsune sighed before poofing away. Naruto handed them Gaara and told them to go hide. What's the reason? Let's go back in time a little. Flashback. Sealing moment. Seal of the 7th star. Orochimaru was many things, but one of them was not an idiot. He could tell when his pawns were out of reach. Knowing he had just lost a powerful weapon made him grateful for the reinforcements he had requested. He gave the go-ahead signal to Kabuto and waited for his loyal servant to perform the genjutsu. People in the stands were too preoccupied with the fight that had just ended to notice the genjutsu. Even those who did not have the strength to fight it off. Kurenai quickly sent a burst of chakra as she cancelled all genjutsu within a 50-foot radius, mentally thanking Kyuubi. She would have died from the exertion if it hadn't been for his training. Guy and Kakashi appeared out of nowhere, ready to take on any and all enemies of Konoha. Lee, on the other hand, simply stood up and hefted his massive polearm on his shoulder before nodding to Kurenai. Anko and Zabuza smirked at each other, silently agreeing to a friendly competition before disappearing. Kurenai remained motionless for only a split second before blurring into action as well. Kiba thanked Kami Kurenai for teaching him genjutsu. It was simple to break the sleep jutsu with her as a sensei. Haku drew her blade, Hyoryu, and prepared herself, her eyes becoming cold. Naruto had been correct. War would come to Konoha, and they would be damned if they allowed their precious people to perish as a result. Hinata drew her tonfa in one fluid motion as she jumped to higher ground to identify the attackers, trusting Hiashi with Hanabi's life. She was a little scared by what she saw.
Explosions could be seen in the distance at the gates. Hinata bristled with rage as she activated her Byakugan. Hanabi was by himself. Her father had deserted her. Her rage grew as she saw Shinobi approaching her younger sister. Hinata drew the blades of her tonfa with the fury of a mother bear before charging the scum who dared to approach her little sister. Tenten exclaimed triumphantly, "Someone she could really fight." Shino drew his dual kama quietly next to her, bracing himself for combat and trying in vain to forget about Haku's safety. The stadium was filled with fighting in a matter of seconds, which the Suna siblings used to get to their brother.
Even if he did act like a monster the majority of the time, he was still their younger brother. End of flashback. Naruto clenched his teeth. He sometimes despised himself when he was correct. It doesn't matter. It was time to fight, kill, rip, and tear. Shinobi drew their weapons and charged their prey. When he saw Asuna shinobi approaching his Hinata, Naruto snarled and roared. No one touches his Hinata. Naruto dashed as claws appeared in his hands.
That's it for today. If you enjoy this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.